Thank you, everybody, for being here again. It's good to see you. I hope everybody's feeling better than I am as we continue through our Acts study. We are now in Acts chapter 3. But as we have made the point throughout our Matthew study, John, 1 Corinthians, as we're coming through chapter breaks, or coming to chapter breaks, that does not necessarily mean that we are changing subject matter. And especially with some of the conversation that we had in our recent classes in Acts 2, there is reason to believe for some possibility that this is actually all transpiring on the same day. So moving from chapter 2 to chapter 3, we have the healing of the lame man. Now Peter and John went up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being the 9th hour. Acts 2:14. The events that took place described in that chapter, at the time described, Peter standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. I did it again. For these are not drunken as ye suppose, seeing it is but the 3rd hour of the day. Acts chapter 2, 3rd hour of the day is what time?
9 a.m.
Okay, 9 a.m. We go to Acts chapter 3, and we're now at the 9th hour of the day. What time is it?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Now, as we said, same day, different day, not 100% sure. But in just taking it at face value, I would lean heavily towards this is the same day. But this event transpiring is going to help teach us some very crucial points, some very basic points as to, number one, what is going to transpire as we go out and try to evangelize, as we try to go out and to teach people the truth of God's Word and His gospel. We've already looked at it in Acts chapter 2. We're going to dive into it a little bit deeper in Acts chapter 3. What does that look like as we're going out to teach people and try to help them? What are going to be some bullet points in the sermon? And even for us today, as we're trying to present the information, what bullet points should we have in trying to bring them to the truth? But then also, we're going to gain some basic points of understanding about miracles and the operation, how they took place, what's described about them. And this is really important discussion for us, considering the fight that we're in right now with Life for the Nations wanting to start a rehab here in our town. And Life for the Nations, and even for that matter, Hope Center Ministries, both believe in the miraculous ability today and the possibility of miraculous healing. All right? If that is the case and that's what you believe, why are you building a rehab center? Let's just send them to your church, let you guys heal them, and that's all you need. You don't need to spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars building a center. You just take care of this, no problem. Well, then there's the excuses that start playing in. And we'll address some of those with what Peter and John are going to face with this lame man. So it'll help us to deny present claims of supposed miracle workers that's going on today. Now, as we have it being described that Peter and John go up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being the 9th hour, we need to ask some questions to try and establish some points about this description. What are they doing here? Now, it's important for us to try to get a handle on this because You take, for example, our Seventh-day Adventist friends, and that they want to look at the life of Paul and his missionary journeys, and how that it is commonly recorded of Paul that he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath days. And they will try to make a point. Oh, okay, you see there? Here's Paul observing the Sabbath day like it's commanded under the Old Testament system. And that he's going in there to worship with them on the Sabbath day. Who are some others? I know the 80-70 crowd try to hold on to certain aspects of what transpires, and that, okay, see, here's Peter, Paul involved in these Old Testament situations and events. That's proof that the old law is still running concurrent with the new covenant. But what's going on here?
They're going where the biggest crowd is to make the biggest impact of devout Jewish people.
Okay. To ask the question, well, are they going in here to worship? Possibly. Because at this stage, the temple is just a place. The temple is just the temple. Are they going in here to offer sacrifices? Because commonly, with the hours of prayer, that's what you would have transpiring. Go back to Exodus and Deuteronomy, you have with the descriptions of their day that's transpiring, there's a sacrifice that was offered, one in the morning, one in the evening. Or do we have them establishing an early practice of evangelism? That's just what Jamie said. The old system is done. It's been rolled up, rolled away. We are now under the new covenant, under a new high priest that serves in heaven. So what about this high priest that is alive at this time in accordance with the law of Moses, tribe of Levi, and specifically sons of Aaron? He's not anything anymore. And what about those sacrifices that they're offering? Those don't account for anything. Because the lamb that was needing to be slain, that one sacrifice that was needed for all mankind, has been offered. So with those things being true, then we can discard and set these two to the side. And that, no, they're not coming in here to worship and to make sacrifices in accordance with the old Jewish system. But that just as what we saw earlier in the day in Acts chapter 2, everybody's coming to the temple. Okay, that's where we need to be. Here we are at the 9th hour, 3 p.m., everybody's coming back to the temple. Okay, that's where we need to be. That way we can reach this crowd of devout Jews. You gonna say something, Reese?
You made a point to say, were they coming there to worship? And you said possibly because the temple's just a place. I was going to raise a question to that where it was only Peter and John going there. So where were the other 9? And would that have really been where they're going to worship? Because you're supposed to have the collect
right.
go together. So to just pose the argument to that, it's like, what would they? Because it might not be all of them together going there. It might come from different places, but if it's really the temple where they're going to go worship, wouldn't they all be coming together?
Wouldn't it be just as much a responsibility on the others as it is for Peter and John? Mm. Yeah. Good point.
Well, can it also be like together, like different cars?
Yeah, this is the early stages of car church.
Yeah.
Going through Zoom.
Different camels.
And even looking back at the life of Christ, also leads or gives a point towards, even though the Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Jewish leaders at that time had, in fact, corrupted God's house. Matthew 23, Jesus says that your house is left to you desolate. The statement of the house of God, Jesus references it to his house because it is his house. In quoting from the Old Testament, my house should be called a house of prayer, but you've turned it into a den of thieves. Well, even with what they had turned the temple into, did not remove the obligation, the responsibility that faithful Israelites had in going there to observe what God had commanded. So from that standpoint of it being recognized, okay, this has been established as God's house of prayer. Solomon, at the dedication of the temple, makes mention of the fact that and he even prophesies of the coming captivity and destruction, but yet in speaking of the captivity, he makes mention of that when you're faithful, and even when the strangers point themselves and direct themselves to this house and make their prayers, that you will be faithful to hear them. So, all right. It has itself established as being that kind of hub. To where even for Christians to go and pray at this specific place wouldn't be any reason to condemn it. And even for that matter, but even at the same time, not elevating it to such a degree to where now that's overshadowing the church. As I said, it's just another place. But it does have scriptural backing to go along with it that even though it is another place, it has these significant connections still at the same time.
It would be a parallel argument, the same as what Paul is making in Galatians, and then Acts 15 of circumcision. You can't hold on to the old, even though this was the established practice, and they're still practicing Jews at this point and haven't been convinced or converted into Christianity.
Right. It's something you can still be involved in, but do not think that it elevates you in some kind of way. And so even with this, going to the temple at the 9th hour, or at this hour of prayer. Okay, fine. But don't think just because you're going to the temple that God is automatically going to hear your prayers above somebody else. And even for the fact that we have in Acts chapter 2, them helping the people that are in need, where does it say that they're helping the people in need?
I missed the last thing you said. He was yelling at me. Wait.
In Acts chapter 2, the description is they're helping people, but where does it say that they're helping the people?
House to house,
All right, but before that,
day by day,
before that,
one mind in the temple.
in the temple. What are they doing in the temple? Well, this is a holy place. That's not the reason. The temple is a hub. It's at the center of the city. Everybody's coming in and out. So not only are they fulfilling the responsibility of, okay, we're going out so as to help those that are in need, but it's also a situation of, here's a central point, a fixed point, an easy to locate point, that if you're needing help, here's where you can find it. So that's purely all it is. They are just simply utilizing, like Paul with the synagogues. When Paul and Barnabas, Paul, Silas, whoever, when they're going into the synagogue with these Jewish people, they're not going in there to worship with them. Because these people are sinners. They have not converted to Christianity. They're still holding on to the old law system. They've not put their faith in Christ. How can you worship with somebody like that? You can't. And that's Paul's whole explanation, 2 Corinthians chapter 7. What fellowship has light with darkness? There is no fellowship. And at that point, that's where those Jews stood. So what was their going in there for? Their going in there was so to be able to teach. They're not going in there from the standpoint of Christian fellowship. Oh yeah, we're all together. No, they were greatly opposed to one another. And that became clearly manifest when Paul had an opportunity to speak. He laid it out clear. We're not on the same page. And that the people in that audience there needing to repent. All right, and just to further, establish the point, Acts 16:13 on the Sabbath, we went out of the city by riverside where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spake unto the women which resorted thither. Again, they're looking for a synagogue. There is no synagogue. Well, then we'll go to the next best place. Well, where is it that people go to pray? Well, there's a group that goes down and meets down by the river. Well, more than likely, whoever it is you're going to run into at this set place on the Sabbath day and these people are making prayers, you're not going to be able to make prayers with them because you don't know where they stand. It's like Paul, Acts 19, coming across those disciples from Ephesus, seeing that they believed and then hearing what they were baptized, or if they had received the Holy Ghost. We don't even know where there is a Holy Ghost, or what then were you baptized? See, there's investigation that takes place. Then they hear the message, then they obey it. Now we're in fellowship together. So the temple holds no other significance than a hub for the work. Here's where the people are. So this is where we're going to teach. We're going to get the most bang for our buck, if you will. Here are minds that are already prepared to hopefully take in spiritual things, because that's what coming to the temple and going through those practices was supposed to produce. All right, so any other thoughts or questions on verse 1 before we get into 2 and 3?
The question about going to the temple, is it there?
Anybody here?
For going to the temple, there's not a set schedule, like how we do things, like 10 o'clock, we start with singing, prayer, or etc., or is it people just go in and do what they need to and then leave?
Say it again, but a little bit different.
Is there a routine for the Jews to follow concerning temple worship?
Yeah, so I'm wondering how you go to the temple to pray and not pray with them.
Mhm.
Is it everyone's kind of in charge of their own worship, or how does that work?
What have you guys found in your studies?
Well, it doesn't say that it's Sunday, the first day of the week, where they would all meet together. So then wouldn't it be as they determined? And obviously they can't fellowship with anybody else, but I think also in their two explanations is they're mingling, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but they're mingling with the Jews. Like the Jews have a set tradition. Are they going there specifically at that time to meet with the Jews, or maybe I'm taking it too far?
This is the hour of prayer, so does that mean they have a specific hour that they pray?
Okay, so yeah, that description of it being, okay, this is the hour of prayer, establishes that this is a set time. So there are set schedules. As I said, Exodus, Deuteronomy talks about morning sacrifice, evening sacrifice. Those are all also called morning prayers, evening prayers. And then you take other situations like the different feast days, where, okay, here are set times where everybody's coming together into Jerusalem so as to offer sacrifices, time of rejoicing, so on and so forth. But the fact that you have the morning and evening prayers with sacrifices, that's an everyday thing. So every day, you were to be involved in bringing an animal to the priest, morning and evening, for a sacrifice. So even from that, okay, here are these set times. So what about the other times? Would there be some liberty that if you needed to go to the temple for whatever reason that you could?
Oh, yeah. This is a
Can't hear
long
you.
time ago. This is a long time ago, but we have Hannah going to the temple, right? She's praying. And she had a significant need. She wasn't sacrificing because she couldn't. She was a woman, but she was praying.
Mm-hmm.
Temple wasn't built yet.
I know, I know.
And that was a certain time of the year that they all went up to Jerusalem. Or not Jerusalem, sorry.
Shiloh.
Shiloh.
I did it to myself.
And you're the teacher?
So yeah, they had these set times, but the set times would not exclude them from doing other things as they had need of them. So you have, for example, David and Daniel, they talk about praying 3 times a day. Well, where's that extra hour coming from? Well, the Jews are keeping their time within 3-hour increments, so they would talk about the 3rd hour, 6th hour, 9th hour, 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m. But who's to say that, well, okay, I've prayed those 3 times a day, I don't need to pray anymore. And especially when you look at times of fasting that people were involved in, that's a continuous involvement of prayer. So yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunity for outside of the scheduled things to participate and partake in things either going on at the tabernacle or at the temple.
Are we going under the premise that this is the same day, though?
I'm leaning towards that, yeah.
So then it'd be a big, everyone's outside, crackling and wind and blah, blah, blah. And what's that? And they're all outside, and they just follow them all into the quote-unquote church building.
Right.
That's kind of what's going on.
Yeah,
Or we're painting the picture.
yeah.
Are we painting the picture of the 3,000?
Say it again?
Are we painting the picture of the 3,000 following Peter and John?
Well, they did their worship and they went home.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not described there in the verse. It just says Peter and John. So
Well, maybe they were busy selling off their.
could be. Yeah, they're already in the process of helping in other areas. And that it's just, all right, you guys are handling this. We're gonna go back to the temple. Anything else? All right. Verse 2, and a certain man lame from his mother's womb was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple, who seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. Here we have someone that is begging for support. Now again, why is he being laid before this gate of the temple?
Because there's traffic going in
Okay,
and out.
this is a common place where this is going to happen. There's a lot of foot traffic coming in and out. And you take, for example, well, let me ask it to kind of get some gears turning. Who would be some possible prospects to give alms going in and out of the temple?
Pharisees?
Ah,
Well,
so why the Pharisees?
because they got the money.
All right, and what else? What do we know about the Pharisees?
They like to do that in front of people.
Matthew 6, they like to do this in front of the crowds, out on the corners, so they can be seen of men. All right? So there's one.
This guy wasn't even sick.
I was going to say he was a hustler.
All right, what's another?
Probably hoping that an angel would come down and touch him.
Okay, that
Perhaps.
certainly is a possibility, what we studied through John. Here we are at the house of God, and if you know anything about your Old Testament, the book of Genesis and Jacob having his dream at Bethel where the ladder was seen between heaven and earth, and there were angels ascending and descending upon the ladder, which he calls the place Bethel. But what does Bethel mean? Go with your gut, say it.
Is it healing?
Nope.
Ah,
Don't go with your gut.
What is it, Tina? You mouthed it. House of God. What a coincidence that we would see angels ascending and descending upon the house of God. Why don't you just say it?
It's been 5 years.
All right, so there's possibility here for some action on the part of God directly. And we are actually going to see that with Peter and John. All right, what's another option? We noted the negative side of religion, the Pharisees coming to be seen of men. Is there a possibility of a positive side? Which is?
Just genuine people giving to the poor.
Okay. Here are people that are of pure heart, sincerely coming to worship God, and they would want to help. So here's the reason why for being at the temple. There's a very high probability that some help is going to be given. And certainly, religion is supposed to create that third one we discussed, and that positive aspect and positive attitude of benevolence as these people were coming to the temple. As they came to the temple, what should they have been thinking about themselves? As they entered into that beautiful gate,
Am I right with God?
who am I that I am able to enter in? It should give a clear showing and representation to their littleness, their hopelessness, and their need of the mercies and the goodness of God.
Matthew 5:3.
Matthew 5:3. So, as we mentioned in our sermon, we have an image of man's helplessness and being apart and separated from God. And that's what the gospel is also designed to present to people. How that before Christ and without Christ, we were and we are helpless. And so that in everything we need God. All right, any other thoughts on that line before we move on to some others from this verse? All right, so let's go deeper into some descriptions of this lame man. Certain man, lame from his mother's womb, was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple, who seeing Peter and John asked John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. I'm just going to read that again. Who seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. Why do you think we have this kind of description of this man? Lame from his mother's womb, laid there daily at the gate of the temple.
So even though he's lame, he's still trying to provide for himself. For most people, they see us being handicapped. They don't want to do anything or get the money. They just want to be on the government. So I thought that was like something to notice.
Yeah, it's not exactly where I was going, but it's an interesting point. Even with this man and his inabilities, he's not just sitting at home drawing a check from the temple. It's no, you lay me out here, let people see me, and so they can know that there's a legitimate need. So there's that.
I always wondered why he didn't see Jesus.
Because he was at the gate.
I'm just like, there's so many people that
Yeah.
Jesus saw, and you've heard Jesus, and now there's still some leftover people that Jesus didn't care.
It's interesting, especially considering that when you have been described of the multitudes that came to see Jesus, they're bringing all kinds for healing. Where was this guy? Well, okay, granted, he can't get around, but why aren't the people that are tending to him taking him to see this one called Jesus? Could it be because they didn't believe? Possibly.
I've thought about that. If you're lame from birth and you missed your chance to see Jesus, just the hopelessness that would cause you to feel, and then they've just murdered your only chance of getting better.
All right. Yeah, so let's put that in perspective, that more than likely, this guy has heard about Jesus. And for whatever reason, he can't get there. And now, that source is gone. What?
He needs some better friends.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got Matthew 15. Those guys putting their lame friend down through the roof. Here's this guy. Can't get his friends or whoever to go see this man Jesus. So there's a lesson in there about how, while many people would think, well, whether I choose to believe or not believe or be obedient, that just is going to have consequences on me. No. Here's somebody that could actually have faith and receive some kind of benefit from going to the Lord, but you're actually being a hindrance.
I'm wondering if this is like the way later with the demon girl that annoys Paul, and Paul finally heals her, and then that was their money source. So going along with they're at the front where the Pharisees are coming in, it's like, okay, this is our money source, and that's who these people are carrying from.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a possibility.
Prostitutes.
Yeah.
Well, it just also shows his utter helplessness. He can't do anything
Yeah.
without help. And as you just stated, we're helpless before God.
Would this also tie back to, is it the man who's born blind, where the Pharisees were saying it was because somebody sinned, and then Jesus made the point to heal him? Same with Peter and John here. They're showing that it's not because somebody sinned, but Jesus can still help the the apostles can still help, and that they're still showing continuously.
And that this is going to be towards the glorifying of God.
Yes.
Yeah, those are all possibilities.
So what were you going for?
Yes, Aaron.
I always took the fact that he doesn't seem to show any recognition towards Peter or
Mhm.
John. It's the fact that he really has no clue who they are. The fact that his first thought when he sees them isn't to ask for a miracle, it's to ask for alms. I always took it as more like he's a little bit, well, not so much more focused on material goods as it is the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
And you think about like the people, the thieves on the cross, you know, some of them heard the reputation of Jesus, and some believed, but for the most part, people mocked. You know, you're this famous, special Son of God, do something about it. Why don't you help us? I kind of figure that's the attitude that most of the people in general would have at that time. As far as those that were not believers, they just, oh, here's this guy who claims that he's something, okay, just like that other cult down the road, you know, they'll die out eventually. So even if there was the idea that people did know of the Church of Christ at the time, the average person, I think, probably wouldn't put much stock into it. So that's kind of more of the perspective I've always had, is that either he didn't know who they were, or if he did know, he didn't really care.
Maybe a sense of bitterness coming in. Possibly.
Just thinking more like, in the physical terms, what can I get out of this?
Yeah.
Physically, not in the sense of like healing, but more like, you know, this is my lot in life. Make the most of it. Get some goods off of the people that visit the temple, you know, to support myself for tomorrow.
Right.
The next day after.
Possibly.
There are a million people in town at this point, though, so it's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's why you don't recognize Peter and John.
Making bank, yeah.
Him sitting there in a fur coat.
Oh, man. Yeah, those are some interesting aspects to consider in this of, yeah, why is he still lame with everything else that's going on? All of those are possible. All right, but what I'm interested in, curious about, in this description is going to that next point about how does this help as we battle our charismatic friends, Pentecostals, Apostolics, that still believe that miraculous healings are going on today. How does this description help us? Go ahead.
The fact that he was lame from birth was something that was clearly evident and witnessed by all, something that couldn't have been hidden. Whereas today, the miracles that people often try to propagate are almost invisible. Oh, he has some affliction that nobody knows about. This random stranger we bring in, he can suddenly get out of a wheelchair, but where's the evidence that he was paralyzed beforehand?
Right. Crippled from the womb, carried and laid at the temple. This is being done daily. He has never walked before and laid daily in public, and this establishes the credibility of this miracle. So just as Aaron said, you go to some faith healing event, and I've been to several. You don't know anything about the history of people that are being called up on stage for their so-called healing that's taking place. And a lot of these individuals have been, especially as technology advances, several of them have been caught healing the same person from city to city. And it's like, wait a minute. This is the same guy that was in Memphis. You're now dragging him over to Nashville and healing him for the same thing.
He got in a car wreck.
Right. It's like, no, that's not the kind of stuff that happens. So we are establishing foundational proofs of what is about to happen. I mean, it's like, so do you guys know anybody here in Ronan that is just, like, let's just say they have been a certain way all their life?
Michael?
Okay, I was thinking the guy at Safeway. Is he one that just kind of,
Michael.
that everybody just knows?
Say his name.
I don't want to say his name on the recording.
Everybody knows it.
Okay, that would be the prime example. Don't pull me some stranger that nobody has never seen before and then make this claim, and then, even as Aaron said, most of it's internal issues. Well, they've got tumors or this, that, and the other. That's not what we're dealing with here. But that's what our denominational friends try to do. Well, here's some person that nobody has any idea as to who they are, and then there is no visible affliction by which we can gauge whether this is legitimate or not. And there are many so-called miracles that are going on today that are lacking in credibility. Now, here are the apostles in the temple, and it gives them an opportunity. But it's interesting. It's also interesting, too, to consider that Peter and John are not going into the temple looking for him. They're going in for the 9th hour of prayer. Or excuse me, no, is that right? This 9th hour. The hour of prayer being the 9th hour. And, okay, you don't think the apostles know? Oh, this guy's going to be here. Yeah, they know it. Everybody knows it. The apostles are in and out of Jerusalem with Jesus that whole entire time. Well, guess who's there? This guy. But they're not going with the aspect of, okay, we're going in here looking for somebody to heal. He cries out first. Then everything displays. So he says, seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. So he does not ask for a miracle. He asked for something physical. Peter, fastening his eyes upon him with John, said, look on us. And he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Then Peter said, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. So this guy thinks he's going to receive some money. But here Peter establishes another crucial point of what's going on here, in that this is not a commercial venture for Peter. So this guy cries out to Peter and John, asking for help. Peter and John are going to offer him a miracle, but you notice Peter doesn't hand him an envelope and say, well, plant your seed first. Give us a donation. And then God will open up his windows, as Malachi said. He doesn't say that. Peter establishes, we don't even have silver and gold. We're not doing this for financial gain. Now you just look at the so-called miracle workers today. Can any of them make the claim that Peter's making here? Oh no, we don't have silver and gold. Who's, aside from Carla, Jamie, any of you chaps familiar with Oral Roberts?
That's the guy with the jet who looks very scary with the interviewer questions him.
It's Kenneth Copeland. Oral Roberts is before him. You recognize the name, Jamie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oral Roberts was a fake healer. Back in the early 90s, I think it was.
Wasn't Jimmy Swaggart like?
Yeah, Jimmy Swaggart and that whole crew. And Oral Roberts supposedly received a vision from a 60-foot Jesus saying that if he did not raise $4.5 million to build a hospital, Jesus was going to kill him. Why does a faith healer need to build a hospital? Huh?
The silver and gold have to go.
Exactly. But he raised millions of dollars within that time frame. But still, the hospital, if memory serves me correctly, I do not think the hospital was ever built, and he wasn't killed either. How ridiculous. So you look at the people today. Aaron brought up Kenneth Copeland, his private jet. Jesse Duplantis down in Louisiana brags all the time about his $1 million mansion that he lives in. Joel Osteen, and then this one I cannot get over, and I cannot believe that people would follow a guy with a name like this. Creflo Dollar. And they all claim to have these miraculous abilities to be able to help people heal their physical needs. And yet they're living in mansions, flying on private jets, living the lifestyles of the rich and the famous. Here are the ones that were truly able to perform miracles, and they say to these people, "We are poor like you." So there's a major problem. With what's going on today, supposedly contrast what you had back then. But then Peter ends up using similar language in this event of healing this lame man that he just used in his earlier sermon. Peter said, "Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have I give thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." Again, this is not just any Jesus. This is that Jesus from Nazareth that you heard about, that many people have been trying to falsely accuse. And that it is from His name or His authority that this power originates. But even with this, we have Peter giving recognition to the fact, "Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have, give I thee." So what about Peter's role in this, in the healing of the lame man? Now, this is an important point because of what people will try to say. Chad even tried to say it that Monday night when I was talking to him afterwards, and trying to make an excuse as to, well, why certain healings don't happen. And what's one of the excuses?
The faith of the one receiving it.
All right, so there's that. Faith of the one receiving it. Well, even this context does away with that argument because, as Aaron mentioned, and maybe others of you did, there's no recognition from this, on the part of this man, of who Peter and John are. There's no recognition of his faith already being there, of who they are, who they're witnessing of. So that's not a factor in this. All right, so what's another excuse that they'll try to make outside of that? Well, it's God that heals. It's God that has the power. I'm just a vessel.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't fit here. Peter was in full power and authority to give of what he possessed. So it is true the power comes from God. But Peter establishes the very same thing that Paul wrote to the Corinthian brethren in 1 Corinthians chapter 14. That when it comes to miraculous gifts and miraculous abilities, who's in control?
The healer. God, but the healer. Who gives it? I missed your question.
Well, just run over there, 1 Corinthians 14, and see if you can find it.
Question.
Yeah.
Would this fall in line with things like whatsoever you have loosed on earth, I will loose in heaven? Whatsoever you bind on earth, I will bind in heaven?
All right, so there'd be a part of it.
Can you repeat the question?
We're trying to establish that the ones that had the miraculous gifts had the power to use them as they willed.
The Corinthian church was abusing their gifts, weren't they?
They were. But Paul still establishes a principle about the spirits, or the Spirit, and the gifts.
That'd be 1 Corinthians 12, verses 6 and 7.
What does it say?
There are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal.
Read that last part again.
But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. And then verse 8. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit.
Well, that establishes the source of it. And that he's trying to help them to stop dividing over the miraculous gifts. That, well, this one's better than this one, when the source is all the same. These things are being given as God wills. But what we're trying to establish is, well, okay, when God gives power, who has the power and will and authority to use it? Are the apostles just sitting around waiting on God? Like what Chad was trying to say? Well, some people don't get healed because it's in God's power.
14:32.
What does it say?
And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets.
The spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. Who's in control?
The prophets.
The prophets. You claim to work miracles? Do not try to blame God for your failure. You are in control. Which that even goes back into Matthew's account with the healing of that man's son possessed by a devil, cast him into the water, into the fire. And the apostle, Jesus has to heal him. The apostles come and ask him, well, why couldn't we heal him? Jesus does not say, well, it's in God's control as to who's going to get healed and who's not. Jesus puts the blame exactly where it belongs. You, the apostles, because of your lack of faith, were not able to heal. It's in their control. Huh? Which one? We'll say it louder for everybody to hear. The Paul reference that establishes Peter is in control and has the power to give this and operate as he wills is 1 Corinthians 14:23. 14:23. Or 32, sorry. And a further example of that was the man with the son possessed by a devil, and I can't remember right now where that reference is, if somebody else wants to look it up.
You're gonna be more specific which devil, what's meant.
The son that could not be healed by the apostles, and they had to go get Jesus. For some reason, 17 is coming
Let the Spirit lead you.
in, but I don't think that's it.
12, 22.
Yeah.
Matthew 17. Verse 20. Matthew 17.
Excuse me.
The one about how the demon go about, not without.
Yeah, it should be the
Not
same.
about by prayer and by fasting.
Yeah, same context.
Yeah, same context. If you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, shall be removed, nothing shall be impossible to you. Because we are on the roof.
Yeah. And all of that discussion is putting blame back on the apostles. You have the power, you have the ability. If there's some kind of failure, it's on your part, not on God's part. All right, Peter has the ability. I have it. I give it. But in this transaction, Christ gets the glory for what will be done by Peter's hands. Right, I have it, I give it, but the only reason why I have it, the only reason why I'm able to give it is because of the power and the authority that Jesus has as Christ. And then he says, rise up and walk. And just very quickly, 7 and 8, just to wrap up this whole discussion and the evidences that we have here of this miracle that's taken place. Took him by the right hand, lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. And he leaping up stood and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. Again, the nature of biblical miracles. How they take place. Immediately. He did not slowly get better. Or told, well, okay, you're going to see some slight changes now, but you need to make sure you keep going to your doctor visits. Now, I'm throwing that in there because I've heard false preachers say that. You go to a healing event, and supposedly somebody's being healed, and it's almost like they have to do it for the sake of legal standing, and that, don't stop going to your doctor, because I don't want to get sued if you all of a sudden stop and you get worse. And it's just, all right, nothing you're doing adds up to what the Bible actually says about this. Immediately, he was able to stand up, leaping up stood and walked. So there's no crutches that are being used for him to get used to walking. Remember, this man has never walked before. He doesn't know how to walk. He does not have the motor skills. He does not have the brain muscle memory function that we would have since the time that we learned to walk. If this were happening under some natural circumstances, he would be like an Edmund or this other one that's fixing to start walking. And that's just, all right, I'm learning how to do this. There's no learning process. Immediately stands up, walks. It is not a slow get up, stand up for a little while, fall down, then get back up. Immediate leaping up and walks right into the temple. And even with this, the immediate leaping up and walking into the temple, again, with some of the faith healers that I've seen, and that, okay, we're pulling this person up in a wheelchair so as to have them stand up and walk. It is not an immediate leaping out of the chair. It is usually a very slow process of them getting up and, they'll stand for a little bit and then they're right back in the chair. And everybody wants to hoop and holler and shout, oh, it's a miracle. And it's like, no, it's not. And it's like, well, it's more than what they can normally do. They're not healed. Now, so as not to be fully insensitive to what is going on. Can we not understand why people would be in a situation like that and want to see something like that and want to believe it? Okay, I'm seeing some nods. Why?
That grief state of where you'll more than likely never see them become anything. Now, this being right here, when he was born, the shock of the Down syndrome and stuff like that was this, how can you move past that? And then throughout the years, it's like, well, yeah, or not throughout the years, throughout the months was, well, will he ever be in a state of normalness or anything like that? So to have the reassurance that people have told us is that he's going to be as normal as you make him. So to have this, with what you're saying, for them to be able to have that normalness there, it's this, oh, well, at least it's something. So to grasp onto anything, yes, that is very hopeful.
And I wanted to bring that into focus as we, bring this to the close, because we're making some comments and sarcasm and we're joking around about stuff, so on and so forth. But at the same time, I want us to be able to recognize how it is that people could be swept into this. And to a large degree, it is a scam, and the people that are supposedly offering these miracles are predators. And they are preying on some of the most vulnerable and, what was the word you used?
They use many.
But you started out with something. Was it grieving?
Yeah.
Okay. With the most vulnerable, desperate, and people caught in the harshest of circumstances, who are they are truly seeking for some kind of relief to what they have. Monday evening with Chad, I brought up, I asked him, he's asking me about, well, haven't you seen this? And again, it all goes into story time instead of, Chad, just do something. You don't have to tell me a story. If you have the power, then do it. And then he starts going into, well, haven't you seen this and blah, blah, blah. And so I brought up the name Bonky. And I couldn't remember his first name, and it hit me 2 days later. It's Reinhardt. Big name in the charismatic movement. He's German, Swedish, something like that. And it supposedly goes through all kinds of crusades throughout Africa. And I specifically used his name because I know Chad has spent some time in Africa. So for him to go into this long, drawn-out explanation of, well, haven't you seen this and blah, 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 I threw out somebody that I knew that he would recognize as being legitimate. So I asked him, I said, do you know Bonke? Yes. I said, do you believe him to be a faith healer? He said, yes. I said, I have been to one of his crusades. And I saw people come in there with their diseases and with their afflictions, and I saw them leave the exact same way. So I sat next to a lady, and they were at the Greensboro Coliseum. And this is where they have all kinds of concerts, can seat thousands of people. And that place was packed. And I was sitting next to a lady. She was there with their son, and he was mentally and physically handicapped. Maybe an extreme form of autism, I don't know. But he couldn't talk, and just, no spatial awareness. I'm sitting next to him, and he's pulling at my Bible and pulling at my coat and all this kind of stuff. And we're finally getting down to the end of this whole big facade, and it gets to the point where they're now going to teach everybody in the audience how they can do what this guy claims to be able to do. They go through the entire process, and then that mother had to leave that Coliseum and go back to her way of life and having to tend to her son. And you just think about why she was there. She is desperate. Like Reese said, to have her son be normal. And then here are these guys throwing out this false hope to these folks. And they took up a collection. And she gave. I don't know how much she gave, but she gave. And she was there hoping against hope to be able to receive something. And then she had to leave in disappointment. And these people are caught in a vicious cycle. Because the kind of things that we're answering are the kind of things that their preachers are saying to them so as to make excuses. So they go in with hope on this, and the cycle that they're caught in is, well, I can't give up hope, because if I give up hope, then what?
You'll never get it.
Then you never will get it. It's your lack of faith. So they just have to keep on going in hope. And that one day they'll finally get something. That will never come. And all of that is being done by a teaching from the Bible. That level of deception, cruelty, manipulation, by using God's Word. Now, using it incorrectly. And it's for that kind of reason that we need to stand as strongly as we can in opposition to these guys. This is not a victimless crime that's being performed. They are causing great harm and hurt on the people around us that would be defenseless. And so we have to be ready to stand in the gap. So why oppose this rehab coming in? Don't you want people to recover? Sure, I want people to recover. But I know what these jokers are up to. I know what they teach. I know what they're promising. And there's no hope in that. Somewhere in one of the epistles, I was thinking it was James, and then I was second guessing myself that it was Peter. Now I'm guessing if it was John. Somewhere it talks about them being blemishes on your love feast.
Jude.
Was it Jude?
Yeah.
That was my final one. But then he also describes them as being clouds without rain. And there's the depiction of people that are falling into this today. You take a person that's in a time of famine and drought, and they are just begging and desperate for rain. And then every dark cloud that rolls through, and then nothing happens. And you just fall deeper into despair. And then that's what Jude writes about people that will come into the church, bringing hope that have no hope. And even though people want to hold on to this tooth and nail, they do not want to give up on it. We have still got to try to reach them, to help them realize how badly they're being scammed. Now, with everything that we discussed this morning, is that what this chapter is about?
No.
No.
It's about Jesus.
We are fixing to get into what this chapter is all about, Peter's sermon. But though this is not what the chapter is about, there are still these points that we're able to learn and able to gain so as to help deal with these issues. So we'll pick up there next time. Any other thoughts, questions?
Not quite sure how relevant it would be, but I think the example in 2 Kings, the situation of Naaman would be relevant for faith healers.
All right, which way?
In the sense of that, here's a man who is basically a godless heathen, who follows the teachings of this guy he doesn't believe in, and he receives his miracle.
Yep.
And if you look at, it's in 2 Kings chapter 5, the miracle happens in verse 14. Verse 15, and he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him and said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. He didn't believe in God until after the miracle happened.
Right.
So I think that's another important point when people talk about faith healing and you got to believe in God.
Yep.
Godless heathen who doesn't even think that what he's going to do is going to work. But
Yep.
yeah, I thought that would be a good.
That is a good connection. All right. Anyone else? No hands. We will stop.